Okay, so I have an Insecure season one recap ready for y'all. And forgive me, I'm going to have to read from some notes here because there's a lot I had to remember and a lot to say about this. I'm going to take us through one episode at a time from episode one titled Insecure as Fuck. So here is where we're introduced to our protagonist, Issa, on her 29th birthday. Issa is the token black at a nonprofit organization called We Got Y'all, which helps kids in the hood. And she actually just proposed heading a new program for the kids. In her spare time, she likes to be aggressively passive or passively aggressive. She also spits hot fire in the mirror and hangs with her best friend Molly, a hood rat turned bougie lawyer who is having some dating frustrations. We also meet Lawrence, who is Issa's live-in boyfriend of 5 years. And Issa tells Molly she's thinking about breaking up with him. He done got too comfortable. He don't want to do nothing. And, she's just starting to feel resentment because she feels like she wasted most of her 20s with him. She gets home on her birthday and, he done fucked up her birthday plans. So Issa just happened to have an old friend named Daniel slide into her DMs to wish her a happy birthday. She decides to accidentally run into him on purpose and she tells Lawrence she's just, taking her girl Molly out because she's a little down. She tells him it's because, she doesn't think she'll ever get married. And Lawrence says, yeah, well, her standards are way too high. So Issa says, yeah, maybe she should just lower them like I did. And Lawrence is like, what? Excuse me? And she's like, since you've been getting your shit together for 4 years, maybe we should get our shit together separately. So when he asked her if she's breaking up with him, she pretty much just runs out the house and says she's gonna stay with Molly tonight. So they're at the open mic, and eventually Daniel sees her, and they reminisce about old times they spent rapping and fucking, and he dares her to get on the mic. She performs Broken Pussy, and Molly feels personally attacked because, like yesterday, Issa had said her pussy might be broken. So they leave, and Issa gets that come through text from Daniel. And Molly's like, don't do that dumb shit. But Issa goes over his house anyway. Daniel comes out and he like hops in her car before she could change her mind. And he kissed her and she's like, yo, I just got out of a relationship. You've always been my what if guy, but I can't just be jumping into another relationship right now. And he's like, ain't nobody said shit about no relationship. Maybe I gave you the wrong idea. So she's like, no, you didn't. And he just hopped his little ass on out the car, and she went to spend the night with Molly. So on to episode two, messy as fuck. It's the next morning, and Issa tells Molly she was glad she hopped her ass up on that stage because the whole thing just made her feel like her old, brave, no fucks given self. And she just wants to be that person again, to not be scared to do shit. Lawrence is calling her, and he's calling Molly, and they both ignore him, and they have themselves a pampering day. Molly vows to fix her broken pussy and tells Issa she thinks Lawrence is, the one. And Issa says she still loves Lawrence, but the relationship is whack. It's not exciting. She's not satisfied. He don't do shit for her. He ain't even been dicking her down properly. Maybe it's just time to meet somebody else. So Molly tells her the dating scene is a disaster and all these dating apps are really just fuckboy central. So Issa, she runs out to the local quickie mart to buy some draws. And Lawrence is there buying birthday decorations and a card and shit. And this nigga just late as fuck. And he tells her, she can't keep running. And he knows he fucked up her birthday. So he's like, Issa, she's like, no, it's not just that. And she leaves and goes back to Molly's to stay for another night. The next day at work, Issa bombed on her totally unprepared presentation about her program to get the kids out of their environment. So she meets with her partner and they come up with the idea of a beach trip slash cleanup service project. Um, Molly goes out on a date with another fuckboy and determines that fuckboys are the reason her pussy is broken. And she runs into Jared, a guy she met at that open mic, and they chat for a minute. And he seems really cool. So back to Lawrence, he's really down. His bay is gone. His business idea never took off. His friends are becoming successful. He even reaches out to one of them to talk, Chad, but he kind of blows him off. And Lawrence ends up taking some advice from a neighboring Bud who's just like, nigga, step your game up. So eventually he texts Issa again, and she comes home and apologizes for ignoring him. Episode 3, racist as fuck. So Lawrence has been unsuccessful at finding a job for a whole 2 weeks now. And his headhunter is like, hey, you have unexplainable gaps on your resume and you may need to look for something a little more entry level. Issa agrees. He goes to the bank and this teller he seems to be acquainted with named Tasha, she is pumping his head up because he done told her he's a little down because he can't find a job. And she was like, you looking like Obama and shit. And she praises him for being a good black man and trying to make something of himself. And he went to college. She just tells him all this shit and she just pumps his head up. And she tells him to keep his head up. So Molly, back to Molly, she's getting close with Jared, who Issa calls Renaboo because he works at Enterprise. And the three of them go to a party and meet up with some friends, Tiffany, her husband, and Kelly. These some bougie ass, uppity Negro ass friends who look at Jared sideways when he says he doesn't have a degree. A few days later, Molly gets added to this elite dating app, and she curbed the fuck out of Jared, who was just completely blindsided by it. And she goes out with some, fine ass elite nigga. And back at work, Issa finds out that the white folks are having secret white meetings and sending secret white emails to each other, dogging the shit out of her beach day idea. And she confronts her partner who says they don't know how she'll react if they address her directly. But the trip turns out to be a success. The kids loved it, and even her coworker admitted it worked out well. Issa comes home to Lawrence cooking lamb for dinner, and he wants to sit at the table and have dinner and talk. And Issa's like, nah. She sits on the couch and she spills some food on the couch, and she starts having these flashbacks about, when they moved that couch in, the good times. And they kind of progress up until where they are now. So she apologized and said, yeah, this is on me too. Lawrence apologizes and says he got a job at Best Buy. Then they dump the couch out on the curb. Episode 4, Thirsty as Fuck. Issa and Lawrence are really trying. They're couch shopping and taking awkward showers together. So, of course, when things are going well with Bae, ex-Bae shows up. It's the laws of nature. Daniel shows up to Issa's job because she's been ignoring the fuck out of him since the car accident. Well, not an accident, but since he hopped in the car with her. He apologizes for the way he handled it, and she's like, "Well, I'm back with Bane now, so see you later." Then, Issa and Frida are planning career day, and they bond over their mutual hate for the coworker who didn't secure their speaker. Frida suggests Daniel come speak because he said he was into music, and they need someone from the arts. So Daniel, he comes and he does career day and he plays some music, the kids dance, then one fails at freestyling, and Daniel tells the students that Miss Issa used to spit hot fire and was his inspiration to get into music. Then he leaves and she has this fantasy of mirror Daniel. And according to Molly, Daniel is Issa's Achilles dick. So Molly gets dumped by Dr. Elite Nigga after asking him why he didn't text her when he got home from his work dinner. And he was, filling her up until that very moment, but he doesn't give her an explanation for why he dumped her. Lawrence has just been asked to move from computers to washers and dryers at Best Buy. Needless to say, his very unfulfilling job just became even less fulfilling. On his lunch break, he's in some food court or something, and Tasha, the goofy ass bank teller, shows up, and they bond over hot sauce and aspirations, and they have lunch. And side note, this chick is really easy to impress. The last scene of the show is Issa leaving the career fair, and those little researching ass kids found her Broken Pussy debut on the interwebs, and they're singing it because fuck her life. Episode 5, Shady as Fuck. So, those little badass fucking kids are singing Broken Pussy and making Issa memes and shit. And Issa launches a full investigation with Molly as her lawyer to find out who posted the video so they can get it taken down. Because, she thinks her job and her life will be affected. Molly calls Jared. Issa calls Daniel. Issa and Daniel meet up, and Daniel vows to get this taken care of. She gives him a ride to the studio and he invites her in. Eventually, he gets her to spit hot fire in the booth. Then they reminisce about their past. He kisses her. Initially, she pushes him away for like 2 seconds, and then they just fuck all over the studio. And Issa feels terrible. She takes a whole bath and she sneaks out while he sleeps. Now, Molly, back to Molly. Molly wakes up in the morning with Jadena, who plays Chris. And she makes a comment about him leaving clothes there. And she invited him to Diane's, her coworker, engagement party that night. So he shows up at the party, and one of their coworkers is like, "Oh, is this the new boyfriend?" And Jadena is like, "Yeah." So Molly was surprised, but she was game, which says a lot. So she was like, did you mean that? And Jadena was like, "Nah, I thought we was just playing. I was just trying to help because you seem pretty goddamn desperate, and I didn't want to embarrass you." So Molly is like, "Bitch, this is embarrassing." And he's like, "Hey, we barely know each other, and you are doing the absolute most." So she tells him to leave. And then she shows up over Jared's drunk, like, "Nigga, I'm here to fuck you." And Jared is like, "Get the fuck out of here." And he tries to close the door on her, but she says she has to pee. So he lets her in, and she ends up, passing out there, sleeping on the couch. Lawrence is at work, and Tasha shows up. She's just being easily impressed as usual. She's practically throwing herself at him, and he's like, "Hey, I got a girlfriend." And I guess she gets the picture and she leaves. And the very last scene of this episode, we have Issa. She walks in after her fuck fest in the studio, looking guilty as fuck, which leads us to episode 6, Guilty as Fuck. Issa doesn't tell Lawrence about Daniel. Lawrence shows Issa that he got her broken pussy video taken down. And she bursts into guilty tears and tells him he always takes care of her like Black Superman. And the next day, she's cooking breakfast, she's making date night plans, just guilty as fuck. She's ignoring Daniel again. Lawrence takes her to look at rings, and she's just so overflowing with guilt, she can't even handle it. She just wants to leave. Back at work, Issa and Frida are looking for a venue for their silent auction, and Issa manages to get a parking ticket on the company vehicle, I think. And she's really hard on herself about it. She's just still really punishing herself for sleeping with Daniel, and she's just really sensitive about everything. Molly, back to Molly again, she wakes up at Jared's, and he tells her he feels like she's playing games. And she said she knows she fucked up with him, but she really didn't like him. She apologized, and he gave her some dick up on the wall. Now, that was some "let me cook you some dinner later" dick. And when he came over for dinner, they started talking about, wilding out in college. And she said she kissed a girl, and he said some nigga sucked his dick. But he's not bi or gay. It was just a one-time thing. It's not for me. That's what he said. So Molly, of course, tells her friends, and Tiffany, the extra bougie one, is like, he's gay. But Kelly and Issa are like, nah, black men should be able to explore their sexuality without having to fit into this box or whatever. And, Issa tells her, don't let this ruin everything. But she did. She just couldn't let it go. Issa also tells her that she fucked Daniel, and Molly asked her if she was going to do it again. And Issa said no. So Molly said, well, don't tell Lawrence. And Issa goes home and she initiates some sexy hot butter love with Lawrence. And, he was practicing for his upcoming job. He had a tech job interview in Santa Monica. And after she put it on him, she went to sleep, and he did see a text from Daniel on her phone. But all it said was, "So we really not talking." That was all it said. Episode 7, real as fuck. So back to Molly. Um, she ran into their old college RA, Crystal. And Crystal said she got her life back together. She went to therapy and got her some fix-a-hole, and she good now. So Molly went to Issa's fundraiser event, and while she's there, they're setting up and everything. And she told Issa what Crystal said, and Issa suggested that maybe Molly could benefit from a little therapy. Molly didn't take that suggestion very well. Black folks and their fear of mental health. Sorry. Then Daniel shows up and he says he just wanted to look her in the eye and ask her why she's treating him like some random ass nigga. And Issa said, "You were just an itch I needed to scratch." Now I don't know what she should have said, but I know she shouldn't have said that. And Lawrence is witnessing this conversation from afar. He can't hear them, but he can see them. And you can tell a lover's quarrel from body language. So he follows David. He's going to his car. And he asks him, "What's his connection with We Got Y'all?" And Daniel says, "I don't have one anymore," and he leaves. So in the meantime, Molly is kind of tripping, and Issa is like, "Girl, what the fuck is wrong with you?" And Molly just flips out. She's like, "You the one act like I'm raggedy and need fucking therapy, like your shit ain't all fucked up." And Issa is like, "Yo, I made a mistake. At least I can admit when I do wrong." And Molly says, "Okay, well, what did I do wrong?" And Issa just read the fuck out of her, like, "You ain't got no man because you're impossible to please. And when you do find a man you really like, you do too goddamn much." And Molly yelled something about Issa fucking another nigga. And Issa was like, "What, you mad I can keep a nigga?" And Molly just stormed off. And she went to Jared's and literally said everything wrong you could possibly say to him in this situation. Like, I should have just lowered my standards and, just all kind of shit like that. And Jared just slams the door in her face, and rightfully so. So, back to Issa. Her boss gives her the praises for having a successful fundraiser, and she's like, "This is the Issa I hired with all this motivation." And then Issa leaves, and she gets home, and Lawrence is like, "Who's Daniel? Did you fuck him?" Like, soon as she walked in the door. And, she's like, "Why would you ask that?" And then he's like, "Did you fuck him?" And, she admits it, okay? And poor Lawrence, he just flips the fuck out. He, like, kicks the table over and he just storms. He storms out. Episode 8. Lawrence done fucked. It's called Broken as Fuck. Lawrence been gone 3 days. Issa goes to his new job and brings his ass a care package. He's staying with his boy Chad, and she is pleading for forgiveness. And Lawrence is like, "I'm done. Stop calling me." Later, he tells Chad to call the boys, and they go to the strip club where they discuss how these new black bitches be on some bullshit, like not staying with the man who cheats repeatedly and got a whole nother family, like their grandmamas did. They just toughed it out. So Issa and Molly still aren't talking to each other, but they both are going on this girls' trip with Tiffany and Kelly for Kelly's birthday. And there's some obvious tension between them. She hasn't told anyone she broke up with Lawrence. Molly is kind of acting out, She's like tonguing down this young boy she don't even know and getting her groove back and shit. And then she makes a smart ass comment to Issa, like, "It's not like I'm trying to keep a nigga." She tells the ladies she's the new Molly, and they're like, "This Molly ain't no different from the old Molly," and they start kind of making fun of her. And Issa checks both of them, and then Tiffany's like, "Well, at least I ain't pretending like I got a man." Oh, okay. So apparently Derek, her husband, told her that. And at this exact moment, Lawrence calls from the strip club, and he tells Issa he misses her, and maybe they should talk when he gets home. And she tells him, he can go sleep in the apartment instead of Chad's couch because she's not there. Then she tells the lady she needs to go home right now because Lawrence wants to talk, which is not what he said, but whatever. Molly's like, okay, while she volunteers, and they bond a bit in the car, and they love each other again. But Issa gets home, and all of Lawrence's shit is gone except his Best Buy shirt. This nigga is out fucking Tasha. And that's it. This recap is mostly free from my opinion. But I'm really looking forward to season two. And if I get any requests or anything, maybe I'll do an episode by episode recap or discussion. I don't know. But follow me on Twitter at MovieBuffChick1. Like, subscribe. Let me know what you want.